Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and mysterious true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. This is my weekly compendium of case reports between the 13th to the 18th of January, 2021. Case files 27 to 31. Case file number 27. Written by user King Pantaloons. They witnessed the duplication of their car on the side of the road. Then it vanished moments after seeing it. If you look in my post history, there's a post from R, Well That Sucks, where I showed the photo of my flat tire after I hit a really bad pothole. The tire iron in my car didn't even fit the jack well, and it didn't fit the lug nuts on the tire at all. So we called my roommates, now referred to as B, Dad. We had a hiccup with one of the nuts needing a key rather than the tools we were using, but it was all sorted out. Spare tire on, drive home, problem solved, right? We had to go 10 miles to get home, almost exactly 3/4 of the way through. B is in the middle of talking when she stops in the middle of her sentence. In the same moment she stops, I start to blurt out, "Holy crap, that's my car." There, on the side of the road, as we're driving past, is my own car. And I don't mean a car that just looked like mine. Any car owner I'm sure would agree with me that you can just look at 100 cars with the exact same make and model as yours, and you'll just know which one is yours. That was my car, parked on the side of the road. B saw it too, and we both mentioned having the thought of, why are we over there? We're supposed to be here. We get home, safe and sound. No more strangeness. Until my wife mentions to me that she had been watching for more potholes, looking directly where that parked version of my car should have been, that we saw, but she didn't see it. She didn't see any car at all, just the side of the road. As she mentions that, I realize that I saw the lights from the car when we were behind it, but they were gone when I checked in the rearview mirror. B and I then, in separate conversations, where the other wasn't involved, both spoke the same phrase. I think something really bad was supposed to happen, but we narrowly avoided it. I think we might be lucky to have made it home safe. Case notes, file number 27. These types of glitches, where you see something that shouldn't be possible, they're potently dangerous. They can make someone feel like they're going crazy, that the essence of reality isn't properly ordered or rational. This is why I'm so happy for you that your roommate was also there to witness this. One question, did you witness yourselves too, inside or outside of the vehicle, or just the car itself which you're certain was your own? The more eerie aspect is that the duplicate car vanished by the time you checked your rearview mirror. This then is likely to have been a glimpse through the membrane separating us from other concurrently running realities. Or in a nutshell, you just saw yourselves as you were in a different reality. I just don't understand why this happens though. There's a few other glitches I've read. There was one person that saw an apartment he was checking in a configuration that it wasn't supposed to be in. So he was peering through, but then it stopped moments later, just like you when you saw the car and then it wasn't there anymore. I don't know why people are able to do this, what the catalyst is, and why it usually lasts for such a short amount of time. Maybe I wonder if it has to do with the other version of yourselves in that reality. You speak of feeling watched or observed now, since this happened. Maybe by yourself. It's creepy indeed. The author responded to my question with, "We did not see ourselves, no, just the car. Even my roommate recognized it as my car, not just another one of the same make and model. Luckily, the feeling of being watched went away after about 2 days. Nothing since then." Back to my notes, I don't have much more to say on this. All I can say is, I'm glad you're safe, and I'm glad the feeling of being watched went away. Case file number 28. Written by user Lily Magill. Reports of inaccurate data tracking. Even her own son witnessing her car when she wasn't home, but moments later it was gone, shifting between realities. I called my son and said I would be home in 20 minutes. I decided to stop at the gas station and liquor store, which took about 10 minutes in total. I got a call from him on my way home, asking me where I went. I told him I was still 10 minutes away. Usually when I get home, I sit in my car for a few minutes to respond to messages, taking a few minutes of relaxation before entering the house. He said he looked out his window and my car was parked out front in its usual spot, and he saw me sitting inside of it. He always comes out to greet me, so he opened the door and then the car was gone. He looked both ways down the road to see where I went. We live on a mountain in a neighborhood that doesn't have an outlet, so for the most part, there aren't many random cars, especially parked in front of my house. What's weird is if I wouldn't have decided that last-minute stop, I would have been home about the same time he saw that. I have a feeling we may have just witnessed my first, that I know of, doppelganger experience. Update. So, things got weirder. I was at a friend's house that I'm extremely connected to spiritually, to the point of texting her whenever she pops into my head, because I've discovered that means she's thinking of me. She'd respond with, "Get out of my head." I was showing her the Facebook location history that is eerily accurate with when you're on the move and when you've stopped. I scrolled through a few days worth of data and pulled up the day I had the glitch. I noticed it showed I stopped outside of the Nantahala. I was only in Chattanooga that day. It doesn't show me driving there, just a stop, too far away from my house to accidentally connect to a different tower. My friend has asked me if I wanted to ride with her to drop a friend off in NC, but I decided not to. When I showed her this, she got really quiet. She had stopped at a gas station outside of the Nantahala and, for some reason, bought me a pack of gummy snacks that she knew I liked. She'd become scared while driving through and stopped for a minute. She said she had no idea why she bought those for me. It was like I was with her. I think I might have been. When the glitch happened with my son, it was around the same time she had her experience. I think I was with her in another dimension as well. As well as another one, where my son saw me come home before I actually did, and somehow the glitch was picked up. We've racked our brains trying to think of any other explanation. Case notes, file number 28. What makes this story so weird is that your physical location was mapped and tracked by Facebook, yet somehow it showed you in an area that you know you simply weren't in. And not even that you were just there, you didn't have any tracking history showing that you drove there. So it's as if the other version of yourself pinged in Facebook servers, tracking data, satellites. Do they even have satellites? I guess they do. But only for a split second, or maybe a few minutes. I don't know how long it lasted. I think what we often believe to be as spirituality is in fact a mental but subconscious connection to versions of ourselves operating in other realities, and they're nearly infinite. We glean from them insights into possible happenings, and perhaps even emotional states of those we care for, because so many of these universes are effectively identical to our own. It's like gaining cheat codes in old school games. You're gaining information that you're not supposed to be able to have. How your own device history shows you in a different place though is really what's getting me. It's like you're shifting back and forth multiple times through different universes, where even the tracking data can't make heads or tails of what's going on. At least tracking data you can see, because you're still stuck in one reality when you're observing it. You're seeing data from that copy of the copy of yourself, if that makes any sense. How do you feel internally? People often report an unsettled feeling when switching realities, even feelings of being observed, as the last case I just reported on shows. The author responded with, "Internally, I feel very connected and confused. I didn't add that a few days after I posted this, I was talking to a friend I hadn't talked to in a few weeks. I was about to tell him about this incident when he interrupted me to tell me about something strange had happened. He said he had felt me overwhelmingly out of nowhere and went to the bathroom. When he looked in the mirror, he saw my face instead of his for more than a second. I asked what day. It was the same day all of this happened. I told him about it and he confirmed that I definitely traveled there as well. I'm confused because I don't know how I'm able to do this. It's smacking me in the face that has to be what it is, but how am I unaware?" The night before last, I was tripping with some girlfriends. One of them called me outside and I could tell she was on her spiritual trip, and I listened to her. When then had this weird moment where I felt and heard everything she was feeling and thinking. She had a realization about reality, and without her voicing it, I said, "I'm figuring out that this is all a big loop." She got freaked out and stopped me, ended up calling her boyfriend to get her after a bit longer. We talked the next day, and she wanted to know what the hell happened. She said it wasn't me that was talking to her, it was like something else was channeling through me. I didn't even get a chance to speak much the night before, but she said it felt like I knew the secrets to the universe that I should know, and it terrified her. The previous night involved little verbal communication during that time, and a whole lot of mental. I don't know. I'm accepting all of it, I just need to understand more. Case file number 29, written by user The Y'all Know. A case of dream into knowledge, a presence, information that could not be obtained through conventional means. So I wake up in the middle of the night, but I'm not anywhere. It's just an empty void, and then I feel this something, I can't explain what it was, trying to communicate with me, but couldn't unless I allowed it to. It felt wrong to let whatever that was tell me what it wanted to. My instincts told me not to. Then it started manifesting itself in the form of unanimated objects, people, a thought, anything, kind of like trying to convince me to let it tell me, but I never complied. Then from this point on, I was aware of my body and was conscious, but at the same time I was somewhere else. I'm sure it wasn't a dream, it didn't feel like one. In the other place I first woke up in this wooden house, in a bed right in front of the door that was never opened or used in this house. I don't know how I knew this, I just did. The door just led to the outside if opened. But this time, the door was poorly closed and one of the lower corners broken. I immediately told someone it had to be fixed ASAP, feeling extremely worried about this for some reason. The next thing I remember, I'm in some kind of line, waiting for some guy who was sitting at a table writing something. I couldn't make out exactly what it was. Sometimes he wrote letters and sometimes musical notes. I don't know what it was like, a song or something like that. While I was waiting, I looked down to my shirt and it had a name sewn onto it. Alexis. Not my name. And then I reached the front of the line and I read it again in my shirt. And the guy says my name out loud and starts writing his stuff. Close to the table was standing a woman, and separate from her, but also close to it, there was a kid. Then, all of a sudden, I start feeling this dread from the guy at the table, the woman, and the kid. There were more people around too. And started feeling the something I mentioned before, trying to reach in again. I left that place and came to an empty house with 4 other people that were talking about how tired they were too of that something. Trying to tell them whatever it wants to say, but can't. After this, I'm only in my real body at last, and instantly, I remembered the grandmother of a friend, she's alive, and started shaking and crying uncontrollably without an apparent reason, and wherever I was before had no relation with her that I know of. During this whole process where my real body felt hot, and I was sweating, like the room temperature, not like a fever, and just when I could regain control of myself, with the crying, I was no longer hot, and came to the realization that my thoughts were completely mine once again. I later looked up the temperature that night, was at 21°C, so it wasn't hot at all. The experience would have been fascinating if it wasn't for the fact that the whole time I felt like I was in danger while my consciousness was divided. I texted my friend right away, as it was his grandmother that triggered my crying, to see if I could reach her and see if everything was okay. I told him everything in great detail. When I got to the part of his grandmother, I started crying uncontrollably again. Here's what made me completely sure that it wasn't a dream. He told me when I first woke up, I described the room to him, was exactly as the room he used to sleep in at his grandparents' house in another town since he was a kid. Even the broken bit of the door He was going to visit the very same day. Later that day, he texted me again that when he was just about to leave, a worker with the electricity corporation went to his house talking about a problem with the wiring in the houses in the vicinity. Then he excuses himself to call someone on his cell phone and greeted the person he called as Alexis. My friend also told me that his mother and grandmother had something whispered to them before, even though what I sensed wasn't something audible or visible. I just perceived it in a way I can't explain. Nothing weird has happened again, and I just think of all that can't be a coincidence. I know this was a large post, so thank you for reading, and any insight into what might have happened is truly welcome. Case Notes, file number 29. This is as vivid a case of astral projection as I've ever read. To appear across the world, distance unrelated to location and movement, while you were dreaming. What you saw was merely the manifested interpretation from your brain or spirit, trying to process a great deal of information at once. The element that strikes me is this something, the presence that you felt that you can't describe. I think it represented knowledge itself. You know how they say, with great knowledge comes great sorrow? I think there's a deeper truth to this. This knowledge wanted to tell you, reveal all, but no one can bear it. It would crush us too, and we understand this at the most base level that exists in us. That's why you never complied. You never let the universe, essentially, share all the information with you. It's like in that movie Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, the one that really shouldn't have been made, but at the end, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, the person that was on the quest receives all the information from these alien beings, but he can't handle it. His eyes literally burst out. Or like seeing angels, this kind of information is too much to bear. Their eyes always explode. That seems to be a common trope. I don't know if there's something to that specifically, but I think there is truth to it overall, in that we cannot accept all the information at once. It's simply too much. Perhaps it's even infinite. Case file number 30. Written by user Gialho. He and his dad saw the moon glitch out, with a line running slowly across, almost like a projection distortion. On the evening of the 17th of July, 2019, my dad and I were looking at the moon from the window. This was in southern Norway, in case anyone here also saw it. I remember clearly that the moon was big and orange on this night, because there was something like a partial lunar eclipse going on, although we did not see the eclipse, if I remember correctly. The only reason I even have the date is that I tweeted about it when it happened. Anyways, while looking out the window, I suddenly noticed that there was a dark, solid line across the side of the moon. Not a horizontal line, if I remember correctly, but sort of sideways. I was amazed and quickly called my dad to ask if he could see it too. With the naked eye, without binoculars, it was visible. It was not a telephone line or trail from a plane. The line moved slowly, scanning across the moon, and my dad ran to get his binoculars. I looked at it even closer, and it looked so bizarre. We were both shocked beyond words. I'm not sure how long it took until it scanned fully across, but maybe in 15 minutes since discovery. Has anyone seen anything like this or have any explanation for it? I googled and found results that show people have seen this before, but with a more horizontal line, but still no solid explanation. Case Notes, file number 30. This sent me down a little rabbit hole of discovery. I'll include an extra video in the description of someone recording this phenomenon. I honestly have no explanation beyond saying that it makes the moon look like a distorted holographic projection. And I don't want to say like the moon is made of cheese, the moon is a hologram, but looking at it, it's just weird, unless it's literally just editing or something. Anyone else seen this? I mean, the only logical thing I can say is some kind of atmospheric distortion, but what would cause it specifically at this time to make it look specifically like that, and so rarely? I really don't know, but damn. This is interesting. And a little unsettling, I'll say. Case file number 31. Written by user Manda WYNZ. She went out far to be alone to process her thoughts at the beach. Her car got stuck, no cell signal, yet somehow a kind stranger appeared in that moment to help her. Hey there. It's that time of the night where I'm just recounting old memories instead of falling asleep. I almost completely forgot about this one encounter I had last year and thought it would be a nice one to share on the sub. There was a day I finally had off work and decided I'd head to the beach. The closest beach is about an hour and a half away, and I decided to book it at dawn to try to get there on time to see the sunrise on my own. Just for a bit of background, I wasn't in a very good mindset back then. I always truly felt alone, kinda lost, and hopeless in my life. I felt there was no purpose in living. I'm a person that likes to run away from my problems and tries to find things to keep me distracted and constantly busy. That's why I work a lot and don't have many days off. I dreaded having days off and being alone with my thoughts and figured I'd just get away from where I was, even for a little bit. It was only going to be a half-day trip where I get to see the sunrise, take in my surroundings, meditate, and find some inner peace before going back to my mediocre life. I ended up getting there once the sun rose, which was a bummer, but it wasn't going to stop me from enjoying watching the waves. The location I went to is technically an island, but there is a massive bridge that you can use to drive over there. Once you get on the island, it's the shape of a long strip, and it can go on for miles if you drive north of it. So I decided to drive a good 8 or 10 miles out by car, where I knew there would be no people, and I can just be alone. Some people do drive down that way to go deep sea fishing, but while I was driving, I didn't see any other cars. Once I got to an access point on the beach, I made a dumb move and decided to drive into the sand. I have a Kia Optima, so in no way is my car capable of driving through sand. Don't ask me why. I was kind of in a screw it, what could go wrong moment, and within 5 feet of getting into the access point, my car got stuck. There's no cell signal since I was way out there. No people, just me and my sunken car. Surprisingly, my mind was just, well, what I've been through in my life has been way worse, and I felt way worse, so this isn't so bad. I calmly went and checked what I was dealing with, and yeah, the car was mega stuck in the sand. I shrugged, rolled up my sleeves, and started to dig in an attempt to get the tires out of the soft sand. I figured I could do that for some time before I get tired, and if it didn't work, I'd just leave my car there and go enjoy the day and figure out things later. It was probably 7 AM at the time, so if I had to do an 8 to 10 mile walk, then no biggie. Probably in about 5 minutes of me just digging, all of a sudden I hear a voice behind me that scared the jeebers out of me. I turned to see an older gentleman in fishing gear with a big 4x4 Ford truck standing a few feet away from me asking me if everything was okay. The most distinct feature on him was that his shirt had his name embroidered on it with M. Zuniga. He was probably in his 60s. White hair I could tell by the tips that stuck out under his beige cap, round glasses, and a bit tanned. He looked like a normal old guy to be ready to go fishing. It was strange though. I didn't hear his car or even notice him getting out and walking up to me, and I was the only person there. There wasn't much background noise since I wasn't remotely close to the ocean, so it would have been hard to miss him coming up. He again asked me if I was okay. I said yeah, perfectly fine for the most part. You're crazy for trying to drive this car in there. It wouldn't have made it, he told me. I kind of laughed and told him yeah, it was a pretty dumb move on my part. He started inspecting my car and told me that he can use his truck to pull me out, and I obliged. After a few minutes of tangling around with some wires and maneuvering my car, my baby was out. I thanked him again for his generosity. "What's your name?" he asked me. I let him know, and he said it was nice to meet me. He looked around a bit, kinda peering into my car. "And what are you doing out here all alone?" I told him I had a day off work and just wanted to enjoy the day. He stares at me for a few moments, then introduces himself. My name is Mario Zuniga. Where are you from? I tell him the city I came from, and his eyes lit up. Oh, I'm from there too. I have a clinic in city, and I'm a veterinarian. After some small talk, I mentioned where I work, and he knew exactly where I was talking about. Oh yeah, the one off street name. And he seemed to be very familiar with the city. After all, he did say he lived there. After a bit more talking, he stuck out his hand and I shook it. He clasped his hand with his other hand and held it, and told me, I hope you're doing okay. I like to look out for people and just wanted to see how you're doing. I'm going fishing, but I'm heading out a couple miles from here and will probably be out all day. And I'd love to invite you, but I don't know when you'll have to leave. I told him I appreciated the offer, but that it was okay. I wasn't planning on staying long. He told me that if I wanted to hang out at the beach, it's probably best if I head south instead, where I can park in an actual parking lot and just walk my way up the shore, and I agreed. He wished me the best and reminded me that things will be okay, and went on his way. I don't know if I gave off that solemn kind of energy, and he felt it, or thought I may have wanted to do something extreme while alone out here, but his last words of reminding me that things are going to be okay stuck with me potently. I ended up going to the south side and hanging on the beach there for a couple of hours, then decided to Google him since he was a vet in my town. The city I live in is relatively small, and I only know of 3 vet clinics in the area. I did an extensive search of his name and looked up the majority of vets that work in those clinics and could not find an ounce of this man anywhere. It was as if he didn't exist, almost, because even then I felt like he had appeared out of thin air, and on top of that, I was the only person that saw him. To this day, I kind of felt like he was some sort of guardian angel to me, especially when he reminded me that people do care and there are people there to look out for you. I'm curious to know what you guys think of this encounter. Please let me know. Case Notes, File Number 31. As peculiar and hard to explain it is, I almost feel like it was just meant to be this way. An intersection of fates that brought you the small token of joy, hope, even faith in humanity that you needed desperately. Was it fate, a crossover glitch, or just happenstance? What I do know is that Mr. Zuniga was your guardian angel in his small way, either by celestial means or terrestrial. And that concludes our stories for the night. If you enjoyed them, consider leaving a like and also subscribing. I upload Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. EST with more case files just like these. I'll see you there.